Hey there, life group leaders. I wanted to record a quick session, kind of recapping what we covered last Sunday during the life group leader training for January and kind of getting us pointed towards February. And so I went to a conference last fall called the Right Now Media Conference. I like to go there every year when I can. And this time I met a guy, his name is Robbie Engel. He's the guy from Truthface, and I've been reading his stuff and interacting with him. And it's really just resonated in my heart with some things about my own life group. I've been leading life groups at Grace for 20 years now, and just some things I'm like, man, this is really, really healthy stuff for us. So I want to walk you through a little bit of what I'm going to be doing in my group this month and what I would be encouraging groups to think about as you're heading into 2024. I'm going to start with a funny thing that Robbie did at his conference. He talked about some questions you might ask to know if you're supposed to end your group. Now, I don't expect anyone watching this video to be wanting to end their group, but I thought it was an interesting idea to think, how do I know when the journey is over with this group I'm in? How do I know that? And he had three questions I thought were really healthy. The first one was, are we maturing and continuing to grow? Are we growing together spiritually, or if we stopped, have we plateaued? Another one is, are we becoming more known by each other? Is our level of authenticity getting deeper each and every semester? And the last one, are we becoming more focused on others? Are we getting real introspective as a group, or are we looking outward and say, how can we as a group welcome others and minister to others and serve others? I just loved those questions. I thought those really get to the heart of some of what these groups are about. So he has this book, which I'd love to get in your hands. I gave out to all the people last Sunday at the training. It is called The Cure for Groups by Robbie Engel. It's Trueface is the book, the group that puts it together. And he has 5 goals as you think about your group for the next year that are helpful to talk about and to head towards. So as you start reading through the book, he has 5 components of a group that you will remember for a lifetime. And that's kind of what we all want to be as leaders of groups that someone will remember for a lifetime. You want to be 10 years from now and so they remember that group in 2024 we were part of. That was a group that really was worth us being a part of. So these 5 components he lists are the destination, the captain, the crew, the ship, and the route. So those are the 5 components, and we covered 2 of those during the first session together. And he talked about, in all his time dealing with life groups, what is the thing that matters the most to whether that's going to be one of those kind of groups you'll remember for a lifetime, one of those great groups. He said the thing that matters the most, over 60% of what matters, is the spiritual health of the leader. So I just first want to start off in 2024 and just say, hey, how are we doing with our personal relationships with the Lord? Are we still, passionate about worship? Are we still going to prayer? Are we still wanting to connect with the heart of God? If we bring into our groups a healthy relationship with the Lord, that's going to be more important than any other thing we'll talk about this year. So I just encourage you, if you're like feeling a little dry in your relationship with the Lord, just dive back in. Maybe it's getting a good time in the G-Hop. Mine is every Wednesday at 9 a.m. I come in and I pray, kind of get me oriented for that week, whether it's just coming in with a heart of worship on Sundays, but just that personal time. Like, what are you reading about? What is God telling you in your personal times with the Lord? So just be thinking, am I abiding in the Lord today? Am I resting on him today? Am I listening to his voice today? Am I reading his words today? Those are the kinds of things that help you know if you're in a healthy place with the Lord. So the spiritual help of the Lord is gonna be the most important thing you could do this year. So then as we head into Robbie's idea of the destination, this is where you're going to determine your goals for your group. If I went to your group for your first meeting in 2024 and said, what is the goals of this group? What do you think the answers would be as I go around the circle? See, each group, people come in with different expectations. And it really helps if a group knows what the goals are, because then there isn't disappointment that we're not achieving those things and we're maybe going different directions in this journey. You want to know, if I get on this boat, are we going where I think we're going? So he has some helpful things, as you think about groups. There's relational goals. What are your relational goals for the group? Do you want to go deep together? Do you want to do some things that are going to help us go deep together? Are you willing to be vulnerable with one another? And how do we get there? Then there's maybe some spiritual goals for the group. Where do you want to grow spiritually this year? The goals are good if when you've done them, if you've written them down, your spiritual goals, relational goals, if the group is excited about them and will make it a priority. That's how you know if the goals are good. If it's like, man, these are goals I could be excited about. And also that feeds the next one. They become a priority. That means I want to be at group each week. I don't want to miss out because I want to see us headed towards these goals. So there's some really helpful exercises, and I'm going to put along with this video a couple of links on Right Now Media where he talks about how to develop goals as a group. And then in the book that I want to put in your hands, I'm going to give you some helpful things. He's going to talk in chapter 1 as you talk about those goals, about different ways of going about and crafting those as a group and asking some real reflective questions of each other. So this is what I'm going to be doing in my group this week. I'm going to be talking about, hey guys, let's write down on post-it notes what our relational goals are and try to grab all those post-it notes together and turn them into like something we can write out. So, simplify it and say this is where we're headed. And then what's our spiritual growth goals? And then as we write those down, we can write down what our hopes are going to be for the group to feel like a year from now. So that's an important one is what do you hope the group is going to feel like a year from now if we go on this journey together? So really helpful questions. I'm going to include that video. You'll watch that. And then I hope that you take advantage of some of those questions and do those in your group early this year. And I'd love just to see what those goals are. As you write them down, I'd love to, if you shoot those an email to me and say, John, here's our goals for the group this year that we came up with, that we were excited about, that motivated us. So then the second part is the captain. So the captain is obviously the leader of the group. He calls the captain. And there's going to be another little video that I'd love you to watch here in a few minutes. And he talks about leading with vulnerability. And vulnerability is so huge because you're going to set the ceiling of the authenticity and vulnerability of your group. You're going to set that ceiling with how you answer questions, what you bring in the group with. And keys to vulnerability as a leader is going to be, first of all, are you secure with God? Do you understand what the cross has done for you? Do you understand that you are forgiven? Do you understand that you're accepted? Do you understand that you are one of God's children? You are holy in his sight. These are things that have been pronounced about us. And if we believe them about us, we believe we're accepted in his eyes, then we're not as worried if we say something that someone might reject us for because Christ accepts us. So that level of relational connection with the Lord is going to help us to be secure with him. That's going to help us to be our real selves and authentic. The second part, a key to being authentic and vulnerable, is going to be being willing to go first. When you say, "Hey, we're gonna do this study together, and I'm going to lead in vulnerability." One of the greatest things you can do in a group to go deeper is telling life stories. And in the book, he's got a great little exercise where you go down and you ask a few questions. He said, like things like, "What is 3 words that describe your home growing up?" And you write those 3 words down. And then he does all sorts of other things. Like he talks about writing out some major life moments in your life story. So you start from birth, and you just go out and things that are like maybe really impactful turn to be a +10. Things that are less impactful, like a +4. And then you're sharing a few of those big impactful moments along with some of the answers to the questions. So I'm going to give you all those resources in that handout. But I highly recommend if you've not done that recently, in my group, I have to do this like every couple of years, we turn over the group. We add people in, people leave. And it's a great opportunity to just really go deeper with each other. So highly recommend you do life stories as a group if you haven't done them recently. And this framework that he gives us in TrueFace is so helpful for doing that. So I'll give you those links. You'll have all access to that when I send this video out. And to print those off and help walk people through doing life stories. Then when you do it, it'll probably take about 30 minutes per person, 25 minutes per person. So you might only get through 3 or 4 a night. So it might take you a couple weeks. And then what a wonderful time you could spend with each other doing that. But I highly recommend captains, we go first. So we go first, sharing the level of vulnerability we're looking for. And that's going to really set the tone and give people permission to share their real stories with us. So those are the 2 keys is vulnerability as a captain and being excited about where we're going as a group together. I want to just share briefly my own experience as we head toward groups that are more authentic, more vulnerable, more connected. Pitfalls to avoid in vulnerable groups. There's 2 pitfalls I want you to really focus on. One is sin becomes excused rather than confessed and forgiven. So when someone confesses sin, like imagine I was in a group, I said, man, I just really got frustrated with my kids, so I'm slapping them this week. what I don't want someone to say is, man, that's okay. Everyone hits their kids. That's not the right response. The right response is, oh my goodness, this is not who Christ has called you to be. Let's confess that to him. Let's ask for Christ to cleanse us of all unrighteousness, right? So one of the things that is normal in our culture is the minute someone shares something that is vulnerable, but it's also like a dark part of their heart still, we sometimes too quickly excuse it rather than let Christ forgive it. So we want to bring him to the cross. And man, you know what? The cross is so amazing. The blood of Christ can forgive all sins, and he wants to do it. So let's 1 John 1:9 this, and let's do this thing. So we just want to be careful we're not excusing people, but we're bringing them to that confession and receiving Christ's forgiveness for sin. So when sin is shared, that's a great thing to do. Also, avoid the tendency to try to fix a vulnerable person. So if I'm sharing, man, I'm really struggling with anger with my kids, and just, man, just get so angry with them that I'm not necessarily looking for four people after the group to hand me books on parenting with a peaceful heart. Or I'm not necessarily looking for, now I might be. So you can say, hey, would you like a suggestion on that? And I can say, no, I'm really good right now. I was just sharing that's where I'm at this week. And then, oh, cool. So you can ask if they would like a suggestion, or man, I sometimes will solicit, man, I'm so frustrated with my kids. Will you help me? Do you guys have a suggestion for me? And then I'm soliciting that wisdom, right? That's not fixing. That's me saying I need wisdom, and that's a great thing. That's a wonderful thing to have in a group. But I want you just to realize you are, as the shepherd, as the captain of this group, you're kind of a protector of the vulnerable sharing. So if someone shares vulnerability and someone else jumps in and starts fixing, you want to kind of be a shield for them and say, man, this is not the time for fixing. This is a time for just, man, really appreciating that they felt real enough to share that with me. And of course, one of the leaders last Sunday said, yeah, and another real key with vulnerable groups, making sure that they stay vulnerable, is confidentiality. Someone shares someone in a group, it can't be something that's just all around the church as a rumor the next week. It's got to be what's shared in group stays in group, so we feel safe to do that with each other. So those are some real helpful keys on, as a captain, going on this journey and getting where you want to go. I just want to also say, man, if there's a hang up in your group right now, if there's something that you guys are struggling with, whether it's content, maybe we're looking for a group thing to do. Robbie Engel does have a group series called Embark, where you can do all these. In fact, the links I'm sending you are part of that series. If you want to do them as a group together, it's a wonderful, short, excellent series called Embark that helps you get going the right direction. I'll include that. But there's also some other recommendations I have on Right Now Media. Just reach out to me at jonathan@gracearlington.com, or call me and say, I got this life year question. Love to help you through that. Or if there's another hang up, like, struggling with childcare or struggling with this situation where a person talks too much. I love helping groups troubleshoot during the week so we can be as successful and as flourishing as we can possibly be. But know that I'm praying for you guys, and I really appreciate all the community that you do. I'll be helping some people this weekend that are life group leaders in the church. And I'm just thinking about, man, if there's some things that I could do to encourage you guys, let me know what those are, because I really see the value of what you bring to Grace Community Church. I've been praying for this week. Be looking for those links below, and let me know if I can help in any way. Bye.